Yeah, the plant is growing. I hope I can soon cut it off at the root, but these weather conditions are just too good for these plants. So, oh yeah, sorry about some clothes there. And this time, the guest du jour is Carrot, whom I'm holding up because he keeps moving over to the side and more or less falling down. I'm not wide enough, it seems. But I think I've done what I can for now with the general question of genres. Before I start actually going into specific genres, which is the intention, I wanted to address what I'm doing with them because one thing is to line up the genres, another thing is to use them. And I don't want to just describe genres theoretically, I want to use them. So I'm going to describe them according to the story I am writing. I am focusing a good deal of my attention right now on the book that will be written for Embassy of Time. And one thing is to write something, another thing is to actually make an impact. And you always need to ask yourself, what is so special about what I'm doing? Even if you can't answer it, you at least have to think about it. And I don't remember if I've mentioned this before, but the original book was written in 3 months on basis of sudden inspiration, and it was 300,000 words, but it was incredibly dense, much like that plant, damn vine. It was incredibly dense, and it was kind of convoluted, in part because of how dense it was, but also because I wrote it very much in the seat of my pants. So what I'm doing is I am rewriting it. I've tried to get into rewriting it for some time now. I've had a few tries at it, a few goes at it, and actually written what constitutes multiple standard novels just to get started on it. But it's the same thing I keep rewriting. So I'm going to force this about by doing it with very clear structure, laying out everything before I write it. I'm basically going by the idea of writing everything in a few hundred words. Every section I'll put in a few hundred words, and then expanding that to a few thousand, and then a few 20,000. Because in order to uncondense and untangle, it will most likely become the longest written novel in the world. There are two exceptions to this. There is, I think it's called Marine That My Love or something like that, which is a very, very long story, but it is written in a way that is supposedly a lot of copy paste from other sources, which means it's not actually a novel as much as it is a flip book of other things that has been string together into a story. I've never, I've never read it. I don't know the details, but that's what I could understand from it. I've read excerpts, and it's a weird thing. It's more an experiment than a novel, but it is very long. I think it was 7 million words or something. The book I'm working on is going to plug in just below 2.5 million words. For comparison, the entire series of Harry Potter is 1 million words almost precisely. But Marine Died My Love, I think that's the title. That's one experiment, and the other one is, I think it was 11 million words last I checked, but it keeps growing every time I check, I feel. And it's called The Story of Blah, and it is bizarre, and I think much of it was computer generated, and it's just the parts, the little parts I've read, it's just fairly meaningless nonsense, supposed to be a philosophical treatment surrounding the word blah. And those two are going to be longer, but I find it hard to consider them traditional novels, which this will be. This will be a traditional novel. Um, Beyond those two, the longest novel that I've found in search of is about 2.1 million words. So I expect to surpass that with by a few hundred thousand, which sounds like there's a lot in very little when you're doing this content. But yeah, that's how it's going to. That's basically what's going to be the big flashing neon sign on it. Longest novel written. But it's not just to write a long novel. It needs this room to breathe in order for the story to actually be told. At least that's how I feel about it. And the story goes through, on purpose, the story goes through a lot of genres. Um, it was originally pictured as a series of books that could be read more or less independently, but that doesn't work for the larger story. So it's one large story that simply goes through various, I don't know if you call them sections. They're not chapters because there are chapters within them, but I don't know, super chapters or something. Sections, parts, what do you call them? Tomes? I don't know. But it shifts between different missions and challenges along the way of the story, and many of them are in different genres that are interconnected. So the idea is that I'm going to follow those genres because those genres also follow a very deliberate pattern, how it moves from one genre to another. It's not just chaos, there's structure in there. So the plan is, even before I get the writing done, to describe genres according to what genres I'm using. Well, that's the challenge of filming on a phone. But I think that pretty much does it, and Carrot is passed out from the strain of bathing, and we're almost at the 10-minute mark, so I think I'll cut it here.